Hello and thanks for joining this webinar. And yeah, let's just wait a minute for everyone to join. And while we are waiting, can you actually let me know where you're joining from? So I'm joining in from Zagreb, from Croatia. So if you can just let me know from a city and the country where you are joining from. And if you joined through Zoom, you can send this through this Q&A panel. If you joined through LinkedIn or through YouTube, then you can send this through a chat message. All right, while we are waiting for your answers, just a couple of notes. So first of all, we are recording this webinar, and if you joined through Zoom, then you'll be able actually to, we'll actually send you, you will be able to see the recording of the webinar on the same page where you registered for the webinar. If you joined through LinkedIn and YouTube, then you will be able actually to see it on the same page where you're watching the live webinar now. Okay, I see already a couple of people letting me know where they joined from. Some from Austria, Leicester, England. Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, good. Yeah, second thing that I wanted to let you know is that you'll be able to download this presentation deck, and after the webinar we'll publish a PDF presentation deck, a link to where you can download this PDF presentation deck from this webinar. So if you can stick to the end of the webinar, you'll see the link where to download it. Okay, so I think we can start. Thanks for joining the webinar. This webinar today is called How to Start a Consultancy. My name is Dejan Kosutic, and I'm the main cybersecurity and AI governance expert at Advisera. But also I'm dealing a lot with consultants, and in my previous career I was also a consultant. So I have, I would say, something to say, and I have some experience to help consultants or people that want to become consultants. And basically this is what I will present in today's webinar. Okay, so the webinar will last approximately 50, maybe 60 minutes, depending on the number of questions you'll have. And by all means, please do send as many questions as you want, and I'll try to answer your questions as you send them. And you do not have to wait for this Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar. All right, so let's dive in, basically, why is this topic important? Because, you know, starting consultancy is very hard, and I'm not sure if you already started your consultancy or you're still considering to do it, but you know, it's not an easy step. And in actually one of the slides, I'll show you why this is not easy and what are the most common mistakes that people are making when starting a consultancy. What I'll show you in today's webinar is basically what are the most important steps you need to take to actually launch a consultancy as an independent consultant, right? So if you are doing the business on your own, in order to avoid these mistakes that I'll also show. And so basically the webinar is intended for anyone who is already starting their independent consultancy business for any ISO standard, so ISO 27001 or 9001 or 14001, but also for, you know, any kind of cybersecurity governance or AI governance consulting. So this could also be related to, I don't know, EU AI Act or ISO 42001, which is AI governance standard. All right, yeah, I would say that, I mean, most consultants really state that their biggest challenge is this finding enough clients. But actually, finding clients is not going to be enough. You basically have to go through a couple of steps before starting to find clients, and also a couple of steps after you find clients if you want to be successful. So my point here is that you can't focus solely on finding clients, even though I admit this is a very important step, but still, it's not the only thing that you can do. You actually have to focus on a couple of things to make your consultancy successful. And this is exactly what I'll show you in today's webinar. Okay, so agenda for today. I'll first go through these most common mistakes that people are making when starting consultancy, and then I'll go through these 3 phases, actually these 12 steps for starting a consultancy, and these 12 steps are divided into 3 phases. So this is what will take the majority of our time today. I'll also go through one step is, of course, how to find clients. So don't worry, I'll tackle this topic as well. Actually, not one, but at least 2 steps. Yeah, at the end we'll have this Q&A session. Okay, so let's dive into it. So what are the most common mistakes that, at least from my perspective, that actually new consultants are making? First of all is that they're not matching their specific experience with market needs. Okay, what does this mean? This means that for example, let's say someone starts. Let's say someone is I don't know, some kind of an engineer in a company, and he wants to start solo, and he launches a consultancy for ISO 9001. But if he or she doesn't really find a specific niche because of that experience that he or she had as an engineer, then it's not going to be good, because you actually, and this is actually one of the first steps that I'll show, you basically have to kind of find your specific knowledge, and you have to match your specific knowledge and experience with the market needs, because otherwise you'll be you'll blend into a huge amount of consultants, other consultants, and you will not differentiate, and this is basically one of the biggest mistakes that you can do. Okay, the second mistake is not actually being able to find the know-how. Because when you find clients, you have to start delivering your consultancy jobs. But if you actually do a poor job at delivering these jobs, then you will get negative feedback. Actually, these clients will not recommend you to other clients, and basically you'll go into this negative spiral, and your business will probably fail. The third one, of course, is not knowing how to reach out to clients and how to find new clients. This is obviously one of the biggest mistakes, and not knowing actually how to do it. And one of the mistakes also that I'm seeing that the new consultants are doing, is that they have too high costs. And because obviously you can't make a positive result right from the first day of your consultancy. In the beginning, you'll probably make an investment into your training, tools, these kind of things, and this is where you'll have to invest more money than you will start earning. And obviously, this is something that you will simply have to take as an investment into your business. But the point is, you shouldn't be making too much investments, especially not in some things that do not make sense. Rather, you should actually invest only in the things that do make sense. So, for example, you should not be investing in a shiny new office, or I don't know, a new car or anything like that that doesn't really directly contribute to your business. Okay, in any case, what I'll show you is in the next couple of steps, in these 12 steps divided into 3 phases, how to actually, what you should be doing, and how to actually overcome these 4 mistakes that are listed here. Okay, good. Now, let me just briefly explain you these phases. So basically, in my point of view, these when you think about preparation for consultants, you have these 3 different, let's say, topics, or 3 different categories that you have to think about. First one are these preparatory tasks, when you basically prepare yourself to actually start selling your services, right? Then in the second kind of stage is really to basically find clients. Of course, you have to reach out and close the deals, and there you have a couple of techniques that I'll explain. And of course, phase 3 is basically where you actually start delivering consulting jobs. And as you'll see in the next 12 slides, there are actually 12 steps which cover these 3 phases. So there are roughly 3 or 4 steps for each of these stages. And I'll actually show you also the free course which can actually teach you each of these steps in even more detail. So basically, I mean, today we have less than an hour to actually go through all of these steps, whereas if you want, you can actually take part of this free course. There is no charge to go through the whole course, where you can learn in much more detail for each of these 12 steps. So let me just show you. This is a course, How to Become a Consultant, beginner's course, and you can see here in the curriculum. So as you can see, 3 modules, basically the same as these phases. And then in each of these modules, you see actually several lessons. Again, I'll give you a taste of each of these steps in today's webinar. But if you want to dig deeper into each of these steps, then you can take this course. Okay, we'll share now a link to this course now. So you'll see the link here in the chat window. And by the way, if you join the webinar through Zoom or through YouTube, then you can click this link and it will open right away in your browser. But if you joined through LinkedIn, then because of some limitations in LinkedIn, you actually have to copy the URL and paste it into your browser, and then the link will open. Okay, I received a couple of questions. Let me read them, and then I'll continue with the next slide. So there was a question from 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀𝗲, and the question is, brilliant people like Steve Jobs think consultancy sucked and not making any real impact. As a person who worked as a consultant whole life, what do you think about that opinion? Well, I mean, there are many opinions, and I'm sure that Apple also used lots of consultants while Steve Jobs was still working there. I think that consulting jobs, I mean, consultancy is an extremely important, I would say, type of work, because there will always be some specific knowledge which the companies will not be able to acquire, even not today in this AI, artificial intelligence era. Even now. Or in the future, it will be difficult actually to acquire, let's say, all the specific knowledge and competencies for some specific job. And this kind of consultant, I mean, as a role, will always be important, again, even with AI. Okay, Samuel is asking, is it a good approach to do some free or unpaid work for clients, like risk assessment, gap analysis as a marketing strategy at the initial stage of the consultancy? Yes. This might make sense, and actually I'll come to this once I reach this step. Samuel, about selling, Samuel is also asking, what is the recommended amount to charge for consultancy services? I actually have a separate slide for pricing. Dennis is asking, in your opinion, would you say that the market for ISO 27000 consulting is already saturated? Let me actually answer this question when I come to the second slide, I mean the second step, and this is about the niche. So I'll remember your question and I'll answer it then. All right, now, so first of all, I mean the first step, so this is now stage 1, phase 1, basically where you prepare for the launch. And there are a couple of steps within this first phase. So the first step within this first phase is basically defining your business plan and legal setup. And you have a couple of things here. So first of all, you should kind of develop your business plan. I'm not saying that you should write some kind of a business plan document. Rather, I think you should focus on the cash flow. So you should calculate, the amount of money that you need to spend on. You'll see later on some tools on training, certifications, these kind of things, and with that in mind, then you actually know, what is the kind of the biggest amount of money that you have to spend, and you can start planning actually your revenues, even though it's very hard to plan your revenues, but at least you actually have a clear idea on what kind of monthly or annual revenue you need to make actually to cover all the costs and earn some profit. Then you have to, as I mentioned earlier, you have to control your costs. Do not start with large investments in things that do not bring money. Legal setup, you should, make some kind of a legal setup like sole proprietorship or whatever exists in your country, where you don't have some bigger startup costs, where you can actually start charging for your services, again, without paying too much money to, I don't know, legal advisors or accountants or whatever. You should also obtain insurance. This is in some countries this is mandatory, but still, it's even if it's not mandatory, it's certainly a good thing to do. And very often, people that are starting with consultancies are actually asking me if some kind of license is needed to start consulting activity. And in 99% of the consulting activities, there is no license needed. Okay, so you can simply say, okay, I'm a consultant now. I want to, sell ISO 27001 consultancy services. So there is no, permission to do this. This is only your decision. And again, there is no kind of license for doing consultancy work. All right, now let's go for this step 2. We are still in this first phase, preparatory phase, but step 2 within this preparatory phase. And this is about choosing a niche. And in my view, this is a hugely important step. And, in most cases, actually people are simply neglecting it, which then actually negatively impacts all the other steps that you actually are doing. And by the way, this choosing a niche is maybe the most important thing before you start selling, because as you will later see, this is something that is very important for your ability to sell. Okay, so first of all, what is a niche in a consulting business? So I'll give you my own example and basically how I started as a consultant. That was a long time ago, like 20 years ago, but never mind. At the time, ISO 27001 was first published, the first revision, like back in 2005. And at that time, actually, I started learning about the standard, and I went through this 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗏 course. But more importantly, at the same time, in my country, the central bank started introducing very strict rules, cybersecurity rules for banks. And basically, these cybersecurity rules were very similar to ISO 27001. Now, I had a prior experience working in a bank prior to my consulting work. So what I basically did, I actually started as a consultant in my country, offering these services where I said to the banks, look, I'll help you actually comply with these new cybersecurity regulations. I'll use ISO 27001 as the basis. And of course, since I have this prior experience in banking, you'll be able to I'll be able to help you in much better way than someone who doesn't have experience with banking. Now, at that time, almost none of my competitors had experience with banking. Okay, I was almost the only one that had this kind of a blend between the banking experience and experience with ISO 27001. And that was my niche, okay? So what I'm saying is that if you want to be successful in your work, and by the way, back then my consultancy did take off because, I had almost no competition then. So if you want your consultancy to succeed, you'll have to find your niche. And this niche is, let's say, an intersection of what the market needs and what your unique experiences and capabilities are. And you must be unique, and this is the point here. And of course, I'll explain you this in the next couple of minutes. So how do you start? By identifying what is unique for you. You have to start with your strengths and expertise. Basically, you have to take a look at your past experience. So if you were, let's say, an engineer in a company, maybe you were an engineer in, automotive manufacturing company, right? So you were producing cars or whatever. And you might be, specialized in a certain part of the process, or maybe in certain, a certain type of car manufacturers. Or maybe you were dealing only with, let's say, with the manufacturers of car elements, car parts, right? And then basically, instead of actually offering ISO 9001 to everyone or to any type of a company, you can say, okay, look, I'm focused specifically on offering ISO 9001 for, let's say, car manufacturers, or car manufacturers in a particular country, or car manufacturers of, let's say, a particular, maybe focused on producing trucks only. So you have to find something that is unique in your experience, where there is not many other people that are having the same kind of experience. Okay, then of course you have to analyze the market and find opportunities, and you basically have to analyze, the number of companies that are, let's say, going for certification, or which kind of new regulations are coming into markets. You have to analyze competitors. So, for example, one of the big opportunities now is related to AI governance, so artificial intelligence governance, and this is basically ISO 42001. It's emerging. Still, there are not so many competitors out there, not so many consultants out there, and especially if you again have a specific experience with a specific industry, let's say maybe with healthcare. And then you can actually connect, your experience with healthcare with, let's say, your competency for AI governance according to 42001, and position yourself as, let's say, a leading consultant for healthcare for AI governance. Then, of course, you have to choose a niche, and then you have to validate. And by the way, just to explain, when you're choosing a niche, you have to balance this, I would say, passion and skills and experience and market demand, right? So you have to be passionate about this. You should not be choosing a niche which doesn't really excite you, because if you have to do this for the next, 5 or 10 years, you really have to be excited about it. And of course, connect also with your passion, the experience, and the demand. You have to validate this niche. It's never sure that you're going to succeed. It's something that you simply have to kind of see if this makes sense. And then, of course, you have to position yourself within this niche, or in other words, you have to create this USP. USP stands for unique selling proposition, and basically you have to present yourself as such. So my unique selling proposition back then when I started as a consultant was, I'm basically the only one who can actually help you, who knows banking industry and who has enough knowledge about cybersecurity governance. Basically, this is how I started. All right, we'll share 2 more links with you now. We'll share one link to an article which describes also these 12 steps. So if you want to read an article about these 12 steps, you'll see it in your chat window now. And another link is this article about finding a niche. So if you want to read specifically about finding a niche, then you can actually see this article. It's called How to Define a Niche as a Consultant to Become More Competitive. And yeah, just to go back to this Dennis's question. So again, I'll read the question again. In your opinion, would you say that the market for ISO 27000 consulting is already saturated? I would say there are many ISO 27001 consultants out there, but there are not enough consultants which are clearly differentiated, which have a clear niche. So if you can find a clear niche according to what I've shown in this slide, then yes, then you will find enough work to do. If you don't focus on a niche, if you simply say I'm selling ISO 27000 consulting services, is going to be very tough for you. Good. Now let's move on to the next third step, and this is about certification and training. And I mean, you need to have some kind of certificates which will prove to your potential customers that you know what you're doing, and of course that will to find a training that will actually teach you how to do things, because once you start implementing, once you find first clients, you really need to know what you're doing. And there are various ways to obtain this knowledge. I mean, through books and conferences, webinars, videos, and so on. But basically, when it comes to courses, there are 2 types of courses. One are these general business courses, And this could be like, how to sell your services, how to use particular tools and so on. But more interesting ones are these specific courses for compliance or whatever consultancy you're doing. So if you're interested in ISO standards, these are typically ISO, let's say, lead auditor courses or lead implementer courses. So this could be, let's say, ISO 27001 lead auditor, or ISO 27001 lead implementer, or ISO 42001 lead auditor, ISO 42001 lead implementer, and so on. If you want to go towards cybersecurity, then there are various courses on DORA, NIS2, but also CISSP, CISM. All of these courses are out there. And if you want to focus specifically on AI governance, again, there are courses for ISO 42001, but also around EU AI Act and so on. Okay, I'll share now with you a screen and show you just a couple of courses. So basically I'm showing this Advisera page where you can find various courses for this ISO and cybersecurity. So as you can see here, there is this ISO 42001 lead auditor, 42001 lead implementer, DORA lead implementer, and then we have 27001, 14001, GDPR, 9001, 13485, 45001, 14001 again, lead auditor. What else? Yeah, basically these are these lead implementer courses. And now the good thing is that basically all of these courses are free. So you can actually go through all the videos. We enable you to go through all the videos for free, and we basically charge only if you want to go for the certification. So then you would have to pay a fee, and then you would actually you'll be able to go through this through this workshop, and then for the certification exam. Okay, we'll share now a link with you to see a list of all of these courses and to sign up for free. So you'll see this lead auditor, lead implementer courses. And there is also another article which also speaks about this third step. It's called "Which Certification Training Should Consultants Go For?" So if you want to learn more, you can read this article. All right, let's go back to my presentation. Let's go to the next step. This is about tools and know-how. And yeah, I'd like to kind of divide these tools and know-how into three different kind of types, if you will. First are templates. They're basically the most simple ones. Basically, templates are for various documents that you will have to write for your clients, like policies, procedures, these kind of things. And then you have tools, which could be collaboration tools. And when I say collaboration tools, collaborating, let's say, around tasks, which you can use, I don't know, Asana, or you can use, I don't know, Notion, these kind of things. Then you have files, or then you can use SharePoint, I don't know, Dropbox, Box on any of these tools. Communication, then of course you have Zoom or Microsoft Teams. And then there are these operational tools. And when I say operational tools, I mean the tools which are used for delivering these jobs, consulting jobs. So then these could be related directly to ISO 9001 or 27001 and so on. And I'll show you a couple of tools in a minute. And there are all, and then, the most complex of all of these things are basically know-how, right? Because very often you won't get the whole know-how through tools and through templates. Somehow you need answers to more complex questions. And for example, consultants that are actually using our tools and services, they also get these one-on-one meetings with our experts. They have the access, of course, to these courses and the access to knowledge base. So basically, know-how is kind of embedded, I would say, in most of our products. And basically, this is what we offer also to our consultants. Now, when we speak about these operational tools, let me very shortly show you what I mean. So basically here we have this tool called Conformio, and basically this is a small GRC tool which enables consultants to automate or semi-automate implementation of ISO 27001. So this is one dashboard for a consultant, and basically here a consultant can see basically all the companies from his or her profile portfolio, and then once they start working with the potential with one client, they receive exactly the steps they need to go through as part of this ISO 27001 implementation, and then for each step they get either a template which they have to write, or some kind of a register, like a risk register, or I don't know, incident register, and they also have other modules here where actually they have where they display all the compliance, all the gaps, I don't know, evidence that is needed, and so on. So basically, this kind of tool speeds up considerably the delivery of this kind of a job. A second tool that I wanted to show you is this Company Training Academy. This is a training platform. Again, you have the dashboard with several clients here, and then when you open a particular client, for example, this test company, then you can actually set up training programs for that particular client. So basically, you can use the videos. There are roughly 400 or 500 videos in this video platform. And then you can actually use this platform to deliver these videos to your clients. So again, this is used for these training projects. What I also show you is the documentation toolkits, so templates. As you can see, we have several different types of toolkits for consultants. From DORA, NIS2, 27001, 9001, GDPR, 13485, ISO 20000, 14001, 45. ISO 16949. So basically, if you need just the templates, you can also use these toolkits. Okay, we'll send you now the links to these three. For consultant toolkits, for Conformio for consultants, and Company Training Academy for consultants. You'll see the links now in the chat window. All right. Now let's go for how you package consulting services. So this is still this preparatory phase, step 5 within this preparatory phase, and there you have to make a couple of I would say decisions. Are you going to create some kind of one-time or continuous services? So one-time services could be gap analysis, implementation projects, initial risk assessment, initial training, whereas continuous services are maintaining a management system, like maintaining ISMS or doing the internal audits, because this happens repeatedly, or second party supplier audits, or raising security awareness. So you can do this using the tool like I was showing you, this training academy, or maybe performing a CISO or VCISO job. All of these continuous services are something that is actually better from the revenue point of view, because they, you don't have to sell it every time, because this is something that the clients continuously buys from you. And then the second thing here is that you have to structure these packages. You have to define clear deliverables, right? You can't simply say to a client, yes, I'll help you with ISO 27001. No, you have to specify what exactly does this contain. I mean, what your service contains. You have to scope effort and time needed. So you have to give a certain projections there, and you have to define boundaries and limitations. You have to say, okay, my service includes writing of the documents, but my service does not include, I don't know, distributing these documents to your employees. This is something that you have to do on your own. And very important, so you have to communicate value when you create these packages. You have to present the benefits. For example, you'll speed up the implementation process by, I don't know, 50% comparing to if they do it on their own. And of course, you have to use very simple language. And I'll share my screen again and show you this advanced course. So this is also a free course on our website. Here it is. And basically, so this course is intended for consultants that already do have, I would say, a couple of years of experience, and they want to speed up the growth of their consultancy. And here you will find also several lessons. And for example, in this first module, you will see a lesson around creating consulting services with ongoing revenue. So as I mentioned a minute ago, if you want to create this ongoing revenue, then you can take a look at this specific lesson. Of course, there are many other lessons here, around marketing and sales, how to build a pipeline, how to use LinkedIn to get leads, how to start posting videos on YouTube, how to convert leads into customers, all of these things. But I'll actually also mention this as I go through my presentation in the next couple of steps. Okay, yeah, we'll share now a link to this advanced course. So if you already have some experience as a consultant, you can take a look at this advanced course. Okay, now the sixth step is setting the price, and I already received a couple of questions around it. Anyway, what you should be doing is you have to define this pricing model. So are you going to charge hourly or project-based, some kind of a fixed fee, or retainer-based or outcome-based? So hourly, you can do this only for shorter consultations. It's typically not appropriate for the whole project. If you offer, the I don't know, training project or I don't know, implementation project, then you should have some kind of a fixed fee. Retainer based, it's better for these continuous services. So if you act as a vCISO for a company, then you should charge some kind of a monthly retainer, which basically includes everything that you do throughout the month. Outcome based, I would not recommend this. Especially if you are in the beginning of your career, but basically outcome based would be that okay, you're going to charge your fee only if certain outcome is achieved. For example, only if your client gets I don't know, ISO 13485 certificate. Now it's risky, so again, I wouldn't really recommend this, especially not in the beginning. And then there are various factors that influence consulting prices. So for example, how much experience do you have? Of course, the more experience you have, you can charge more money. How is the market really? I mean, which country also you're based in? I mean, you can typically charge the highest fees if you are in Western Europe or North America, right? If you're based in these two regions, you will then be able to charge more versus anywhere else in the world. Also, is the market already saturated or not? Typically, for, let's say, consulting jobs for NIS2, which is a new cybersecurity regulation in Europe, you can charge more than for ISO 27001, which is more mature. Depends also on the industry. If you're selling to financial financial organizations, you can charge more. If you're selling to, I don't know, some other low-tech industries, you can probably charge less. Yeah, you have to think about this cost-based versus market-based versus value-based pricing. I'm not going to go into details now, but you can find details about this in this beginner's course that I already shared the link with you. And you should also think about some initial rates. And I think that before setting these initial rates, you should actually research what other consultants similar to you are charging. Again, you should try not to compete directly with them. You should have your unique niche. And by the way, the more your niche is unique, the higher the prices you can actually charge. And the less, I mean, if you do not have a niche, then you will typically have to go below your competitors, because as a new consultant, you won't be able actually to penetrate the market unless you go with a lower price. Again, I'm not recommending you to lower your prices. I'm recommending you to find a niche. This is by far the best strategy. Now, when researching what are the initial rates, you can actually you need to check your competitors. You can check their websites. Some are actually publishing their rates on the website. You can actually ask in Reddit or some other forum what are the rates. You might just get an answer and just to get a feeling. You might check some industry reports like Gartner or IDC. Basically, there are several ways for you to actually obtain information on what the competitors are charging. All right, now let's go for this phase number 2, where you actually start finding new clients. And here you actually find, you have to define this ideal customer profile. So you have to find, you have to, define who will be our ideal buyer. So then you can say, okay, I'm focusing on ISO 42001. I want to focus on smaller high-tech companies based, let's say, in Germany, okay? And then the ideal, let's say, target for me are chief technology officers, CTOs in such companies, okay? So this would be, let's say, a way for you to define an ideal customer profile. And then basically you should first leverage your existing network. So you should ask your friends, your, I don't know, business acquaintances from your previous work, and basically tell them, look, I'm looking for high-tech companies in Germany that want to implement ISO 42001. Can you please help me out? I need the contact with their CTO. Because when you actually say it like this, they will have a much better idea on what you're asking, rather than saying, please help me, I want to launch my consultancy. It's not going to work, right? And then you have a couple of outreach methods. So basically, you basically have three methods to reach out. One is through a phone call, I mean through a telephone. The other one is through email, and the third one is through LinkedIn. When, whichever of these channels you actually choose, you have to make a compelling message. You need to have a compelling, let's say, email or whatever, a call. I mean, the opening sentence when you make a call or sending a message through LinkedIn. It has to be, short. It has to be extremely personalized, and you need to have some kind of a clear call to action, what you want this person to do. So rather than sending an email to someone, look, I am specialized in 42001. Can you, I don't know, I'd like to help you with this. No, I mean, it's not going to work. You have to say, look, I noticed that your company XYZ is developing these and these products, and research has shown that companies with good AI governance have a much better ability to sell their new AI-powered products. And then with this kind of message, the response rate will be certainly much higher. So basically this is something that is very important to have this kind of clear, I would say, message. And you have to go beyond your first contacts. You'll have to find ways to actually go beyond there. So you'll have to go for, let's say, job sites like Upwork. There are also specialized directories of consultants like on Advisera. This is also the way to find additional clients. Also, you have to find who generates actually the demand. Very often large companies in their purchasing departments, they actually ask for their suppliers to be ISO certified. And then you can actually connect to their the purchasing department and basically offer your services so that they can actually recommend you to their suppliers. This is also one method to actually go beyond that you don't have to contact each and every one person. That you don't have to find directly these contacts. Of course, you can participate in these forums like Reddit or LinkedIn, and basically join discussions, and through this you also show your expertise. And there is also this LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So as I mentioned, you can reach out through LinkedIn. But what actually Sales Navigator, this is a paid service from LinkedIn. What this Sales Navigator actually enables you is to pinpoint exactly the people that you want to target. So going back to this ideal customer profile, let's say that you want to target small high-tech companies in Germany. You can actually filter them out through this LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and you can also exactly search for CTOs in such companies. And not only that, you can actually also send them direct messages through LinkedIn. So all of this is actually part of this LinkedIn Sales Navigator paid service, and it's an ideal way actually to pinpoint your ideal customer profile and contact them directly through there. And of course, you need to have some kind of follow-up strategies on what you will do next. How will you keep these leads, how will you keep them warm? And this is something that I'll explain actually in the next slide. And yes, we'll also share now with a link to this ISO consulting directory from Advisera, where you can also list you as a consultancy, and I'll explain actually how to get to this list a little bit later. Okay, now let's move on to this next one. This is where you actually build a personal brand, right? And this is where you basically have to figure out, how to get more leads without you actually without actually you contacting them, each of them directly. So this is something that you have to, this is what you achieve actually through building your personal brand as an expert. You have to define this, expert identity. Again, this goes directly from your niche. You need to have exactly, what kind of expertise you have, what kind of niche you're targeting, and so on. Regarding website and your LinkedIn profile, you have to, make them very nice looking. You need to have a great photo there. This is very important. You have to cite your testimonials. Of course, you have to list your services and so on. And then this content marketing is really important. Content marketing basically means that you are writing articles for some professional magazines, writing your blog post, writing, using social media like LinkedIn to post whatever you're doing, whatever your insights that you have, deliver webinars, deliver courses. So all of these, let's say, ways, through all of these ways, you're actually promoting your expertise and showing to the world, to potential customers, that you are an expert in whatever niche you have chosen. And you'll notice that I keep coming back to the point of niche. In this slide and also in the previous slide, I was mentioning like this niche, like, I don't know, 10 or 12 times. If you do not define your niche, you're not going to be successful in any of these other activities. You need to have the niche. Again, it's so important there. Without this, you're not going to succeed. Okay, a step further is even that you deliver this thought leadership. So, guest speaking at conferences, right? This is where you actually present something new. Something that is kind of, let's say, state of the art. On YouTube, you can publish some videos. You could actually host your podcast, or you can be a guest at some other podcasts. You can publish books. All of these things are actually kind of a step further from, let's say, regular content marketing. Again, I know this is a lot, but if you open these beginner's course and advanced course, you will find lots of lessons actually which explain how to do all of these things. Okay, step 9 is basically presenting services and converting clients, and for that purpose you have to be prepared. First of all, you have to research the industry and the client itself. So basically, how is this industry specific, what the client does, what are their specific products and services, and if possible, you should organize this discovery call. So this discovery call is not the same as the main sales call or main meeting. Discovery call comes before, and this is where you actually discover what the client really wants. And basically, this is where you have to understand the nuances of what they really need, and what is really something that is kind of triggering them, and what they would value the most. And then once you come to this main meeting, where typically also the senior management is present, then you have to keep it simple. You have to present, what is the problem, the solution, and the results. And this is very important. And on top of this, the milestones, what are the benefits, clarify roles, and emphasize these trust elements. So again, these are the things that you have to keep in mind if you want to convert this client. Okay, now I'm kind of rushing through these slides now because it's we already are on the top. We are almost at the top of the hour, so I want to go through all of these slides. But again, if you want to read about if you want to learn about the details, you can open these beginners and then the advanced course. Okay, signing agreements. Let me actually skip this slide. I'm not sure if I'll have enough time to go through all of these things here. But the point is, you might sign an agreement, and in this agreement you have to specify exactly what your services are and what your services do not include. And just to give you one example, for example, you should specify, if you do a risk assessment for your clients, that you can help them identify the risks, but you cannot really make decisions on which risks are acceptable or not. This is something that they have to decide. They also have to decide the level of impact and likelihood. So there needs to be a clear division on what you can do and what you cannot do, because if this is not understood clearly, once actually the contract starts, then your client might actually be disappointed because they expected you to do something whereas you expected not to do it. And then if you have a disappointed client, you will actually not only have problems with this client will never actually recommend you to anyone else. So you have to make sure that you actually exceed their expectations, right? And for you to exceed their expectations, this signing of the agreement is crucial. And in this agreement, you have to specify exactly, you have to agree with your client exactly what is included and what is not included, or what is excluded from your service. Okay, step 11 is of course to deliver consulting jobs. This is now the phase 3. And yeah, so basically these are, I'm not going to go into these details because obviously this would be a separate webinar in itself, but let me actually show again these courses. So this course for beginners. So here you can actually see several lessons, how to run implementation projects, how to run training projects, how to run audit projects, and preparing clients for certification audits. And so when you go for this advanced course, you will find also some delivering consulting jobs like ethical and professional conduct, lean approach to ISO implementation, handling difficult clients, involving senior management in the projects, delivering consulting jobs remotely, evidence collection. So you have some advanced topics there. Okay, good. Yeah, so let me go for this step number 12 about security, privacy, intellectual property. So you have to keep these things in mind, because what you do not want is, for some confidential information to leak, or that you are basically treating their, privacy or their personal data in a wrong way, or that you are actually breaking their intellectual property. All of these things would be, very bad. So you have to keep these things in mind when you start working on a project, because again, this is really important. Okay, so let me make then a short conclusion, and then I'll answer your remaining questions. So, basically, I can't promise you that by following these 12 steps, each and every one of you is going to have a successful consulting career. But I know that if you do follow these steps, you'll certainly have a much higher chance than focusing only on, I don't know, one of these steps, like the sales. So again, you have to, in my view, focus on all of these 12 to actually make a successful consulting career. And of course, you can go through these beginner courses and advanced courses to learn all of these things in more depth. Okay, I will share also with you now this link to this page. It's called Consultants, Where to Start, and you can see also lots of materials for consultants there. I mean, there are many free articles and downloads and webinars there. And we'll also share now a link with you to schedule a call with our partner manager. And basically he will be able to explain you and show you a demo of how all of these tools work, but also he will explain you how you can get listed in this ISO consultant directory from Advisera. So you can all discuss all of these things with our partner manager, and you see this link now in the chat window. Okay, good. Now let's move on to the Q&A session. If you have any questions, please do send me these questions now, and I'll answer, as best as I can. And before I start answering your questions, just a couple of notes. So first of all, feel free to reach out to me directly to email, and you'll see my email on the screen now, and so you can use it, and send me directly your questions. Second, you can follow me on LinkedIn and YouTube. So LinkedIn, I publish regularly, all kinds of news from the cybersecurity and AI governance world. So if you want to keep up to date, you can follow me on LinkedIn. On YouTube, you can see lots of videos about ISO 27001, about NIS2, DORA, ISO 42001, AI governance, all of these topics, and also some videos for consultants. So you can see all of these things on my YouTube profile. And on YouTube, you'll also see this Secure and Simple podcast. And basically, this is a podcast that is intended for consultants and security managers. And in this podcast, I actually interview successful CISOs and consultants so that you can actually learn how to make your consultancy better. And yeah, the third thing I wanted to let you know is that my next webinar will be about what are the ISO 27001 implementation steps. And there, I'll explain all the steps that are needed, what are the options for the implementation, these kind of things, and you'll be able, you can actually find this webinar on this link that you can see in the chat window now. Okay, so I actually received one question before the webinar. Let me just scroll it. David was asking what usually triggers the implementation of QMS for medtech companies. Usually the trigger is that their client is asking them to implement. If we speak about QMS, then it is either ISO 9001 or ISO 13485. So usually their client is requiring this kind of implementation. From my experience, this is not only for QMS, for any kind of management system, this is like, I don't know, 80%, 85% of the cases. Okay, Dennis is asking, thank you for an inspiring presentation. Okay, thank you for attending the webinar. And the question follows, what's your take on freelancing platforms? Do you any that recommend to find clients on? Yes, I think this could be a good idea. So, for example, there is this platform called Upwork, and Upwork is kind of a generic platform. It's for all types of services. So it's the most popular, but probably not the best if you want to find some specific niche. But then there is also TopTal. So TopTal is intended for specific, let's say, for professionals with specific skills. You can try there. There is also this Clarity.fm. It's also much better as a platform through which you can actually sell your services. So with Upwork, I'm not sure about what kind of price you would achieve, but with TopTal and with Clarity.fm, I think you can achieve much better prices. Okay, good. I think I answered all the questions. Good. So let me then wrap up the webinar. So just for a few words before I finish. So as I mentioned, this 1-hour webinar was really too short to go into details of delivering consulting jobs, these kind of things. But again, for that purpose, please do check these free online courses. And yeah, regarding the PDF presentation deck, we'll actually publish the link to download this presentation deck. Basically on the same page where you're watching the webinar now. So if you watch the webinar on LinkedIn or on YouTube, you can keep the same page open and then come back in 10 minutes, and then in the comment section you will actually find this link to download this presentation deck, and you'll also see other links that we shared during the webinar. And if you joined through Zoom, then we'll send you this link through an email, and you'll receive this email by tomorrow morning. And you'll also see a link to our short survey, and it's a very short survey, only 3 questions, and I would appreciate if you could answer this survey, because this will give me the feedback on how I was doing in this webinar today. And this will be all. Thank you very much for your participation, and I hope you have enjoyed this webinar.